The goal behind grouping in Gestalt is to always remember that in order to have a group, you need to visually separate two things. So there at least needs to be two different shapes going on as far as a group is concerned, because you can't just have one type of shape and have anything to compare it to. It just doesn't make sense. So, for grouping to work, you need objects, elements, and shapes, at least two of them, two different types. Do not overthink this, but again, how do we make this interesting? Let's look at this in two different examples. In the first one, and a lot of the times when I'm working with a lot of different shapes, multiples, I usually throw in primitive shapes as stand-ins for the shapes that I'm really going to use. So in this case, I'm using this diagonal progression where these groups are physically separated, right? We have this group of circles, this group of triangles that are kind of on opposite ends. But I'm really playing up the fact that they're all different sizes, they're going in different directions. Don't forget to play with variety. In this next example, I'm going to use primitives again, but this time just add a couple of a little more flares to my composition. In this case, I'm settling on a theme of circles, but they're actually rings because I'm going to fill those that ring portion with a color, or with black, sorry. I'm going to counter these ring shapes with these kind of crystalline shapes, these polygonal facet shapes. And these shapes are going to go off. Notice that I'm really exploiting this notion of some of the shapes going off the page or out of frame. Really employ that. You don't have to have everything centered. And I thought of, while I was doing this, well, what would happen if I were to have both of these types of shapes interact with each other? So I'm going to actually employ some of that. I'm going to pull another ring from the top, and I'm going to fill this, but I'm also going to exploit the fact that, and ask myself which one is in front of the other. And so I'm using this outline of white to really help me push the fact that this ring shape is overlapping this kind of crystal shape. And I really like that. It pulls in a lot of the themes that I've been working on before, but it's also pulling out the notion that there's interaction here. I don't necessarily have to have my groups separated from each other, but there is the fact that, oh, I see, there's another ring that's kind of separate from the rest, but it's interacting with the other group. So really play around with that to make it more interesting. Have fun.